Am I the jerk for calling out my spouse and their parents after they tried to embarrass my stepchild in front of their friends? My husband's parents stayed with us for a few days, and the other night we had an issue that resulted in my stepdaughter being upset and angry, me being angry, and them and my husband being angry. I met my stepdaughter when she was 6 years old. I started dating my husband when she was 5 years old. We married when she was 8 years old. I'll admit, when we first met, knowing her mother had passed, I thought I would be filling in as a mother-like or at least a second mother figure. In my heart, I wanted to be her mother and for her to be my daughter. It was clear before we got married that it wouldn't happen. She was actually very resistant to being around me. I told my husband we needed therapy together before we got married because she had to be okay with things and we needed to figure out what our family dynamic would look like. She didn't want to replace her mother. She was already very insecure about me being around because her parents hadn't been together when her mother died, which to her meant she was alone loving her mother. But she knew what we wanted, for her to love me and see me as another mother. It scared her. It made her sad. It made her tummy hurt, to quote my stepdaughter. Through therapy, we figured out what the relationship would be like. My husband would be the parent. I would be an adult in the home and a safe person for my stepdaughter. My husband would keep one-on-one time with my stepdaughter. We would spend some time together naturally over time, and in the way that worked best without forcing it. My stepdaughter would call me by my first name. I would call her my stepdaughter, not daughter. We worked it all out. We have been good with all of that. She and I have a good relationship. She is a sweet big sister to her half-siblings, and yes, we use the term half. It's all normal. Then a few days ago, my stepdaughter had brought friends into the house quickly. New friends. She introduced us all, introducing me by name. My mother-in-law told her she could say more than my name. She told them I was her stepmother technically, but more of a friend. Then my husband and his parents interrupted and said she should be more generous than that. They said I am the only real mother she has ever had in her life and started to say how grateful she should be to have someone like me as a mother. She started crying and I told them to stop. I said that my name had been fine and they should stop pushing and trying to humiliate her. My stepdaughter told my husband she always knew he thought her mother was worthless, but she does not. I told her to go get ready and have fun, gave her some extra cash, and then an argument broke out between me and them, husband and in-laws. They felt I should appreciate the gesture of defending me. I told them it wasn't defending me. It was done to humiliate her enough into introducing me the way they wanted. My husband regretted his actions afterward. I told him he'll have to do a lot to make up for it. His parents, however, feel I was cruelly unfair to them and should not have snapped at them like I did. Am I the asshole? You are not to blame. The relationship between the stepdaughter and her father's family is really strained, and it's clear she feels very protective of her mom's memory. It's great that she sees her stepmother as more of a friend who respects her emotions and allows her to cherish her mom. The husband and his parents need to tread carefully or risk alienating her completely. Am I the jerk for not letting my flatmate's autistic sister live with us? So I live with a female, 21 years old, called Holly, not her real name, who I met at university, and after finishing, we moved in together. I am also a female, 21 years old. Holly has a little sister, Emily, who is a female, 18 years old, and autistic. I would like you to keep in mind for this situation that I am also autistic. Recently, at Holly's work, there has been a part-time 1-month contract available. After giving her sister the job, Holly asked me if Emily could move in for a month. I felt a bit uncomfortable with it being a month, only because our flat is tiny, and she wouldn't be contributing to rent, bills, etc. But since Holly had already given her the job, I felt a bit backed into a corner and said yes. So she's moved in, and it's the most awkward situation I've ever been in. She won't speak to me at all apart from one word every now and then. As I'm also autistic, I understand autism pretty well. After having conversations with Holly, I would like to clarify her sister isn't selectively mute. She just doesn't want to talk to me. I understand that to an extent, as after work, I also like to have a chill in my room with little social interaction. But this is to the point she won't say hello to me. I've tried everything, giving her space, inviting her to movie nights, asking about her special interests and asking about her hobbies. She just looks at me, rolls her eyes and gives me a one-word answer. It's painful. I feel a bit unsure of what to do, so I've left her to interact with me when she chooses. Everything is very awkward. Holly and I were planning to live together next year too. As of yesterday, this might have changed. She pulled me aside and said her sister is really liking the city and wants to move in with us next year. This wouldn't be as bad since she would be paying her own rent, but I'm just not sure I could live with her. There is no level of friendship, and I just think it would be uncomfortable for everyone involved. So, I politely said to Holly, no, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure that would be a good choice for any of us involved, as Emily and I don't really speak, and I think it would be awkward. But if you want to live with Emily, I understand, and it's not a problem. I'll sort my situation and live elsewhere. I'm not a confrontational person and get quite scared, but I try and stick to facts as much as possible without upsetting anyone. Holly then turned around and called me an ableist, saying I just don't want to live with her sister because she's autistic. To be honest, I could not care less that she's autistic as I'm autistic myself, which she knows. and most of my friends are autistic. What I care about is being friends with the people I live with, and Emily and I literally don't speak. Holly is very upset with my answer, and I am upset with the situation. Am I the asshole for not letting her sister live with us? You are not the one to blame. You are under no obligation to live with her next year. Your reasons are valid, and your response was polite. It's an inconvenience for her, but it's not the end of the world. You have an opportunity to find a happier living situation that is a better fit for you. Am I the jerk for blindsiding my roommates after moving out? I, a 23-year-old female, share a flat with Sarah, a 24-year-old female, and Vera, a 24-year-old female. Rent in our city is very expensive, and we can only afford living here by renting a 3-bedroom flat, as we couldn't afford it individually or in a 2-bedroom flat. Vera and I were single when we moved in last year, and Sarah had a boyfriend named Jake, a 26-year-old male. Jake is clean, quiet, and pays part of our utilities as he comes over most nights. Vera has recently started dating Ollie, a 23-year-old male who is a friend of Jake and Sarah's. Ollie has made a few weird comments about me. He pestered me about my weight, told me he could bench me, and asked me some weird sexual questions. When I flagged this to Vera, I had never even met Ollie before he made those comments. She said he was just trying to be friends. Sarah and Jake said it was just his sense of humor. Last week, Vera and I had a big fight after I overheard Vera and Ollie in the shower together. We have one bathroom in the house, and my bedroom shares a wall with it, so I heard them having sex. They also didn't clean the shower afterward. Sarah stayed at her parents' that week, so I ended up cleaning the shower. I brought up this issue to Sarah, who isn't confrontational. She said that now that I've brought it up to Vera, she knows how I feel and won't do it again, but she didn't find it as weird as I did. Since then, I have avoided Ollie and Vera and kept to myself. I am not really friends with Vera anymore, and Sarah reigns neutral, which favors Vera, so I was thinking of moving out. We had all signed on for the next year as our contract renews in September, before I met Ollie, and my estate agency said I couldn't get out unless the contract had been violated. I just live in that house now, and I'm on awkward terms with the other two. I read the contract, and one of the clauses says only declared tenants can stay for extended periods of time. I reported that Vera has her boyfriend over, and proved it as the utilities went up during the time I mentioned. This got me out of the contract. However, the landlord is evicting Sarah and Vera because of this. They said I blindsided them, and they will struggle to find a place by the end of this month. My parents live 1.5 hours away, so I am moving in with them, but the other two are from a different city and can't do the same. I didn't intend for them to get evicted, but after the fight over the shower, I realized I couldn't live with them as any issue we have, Vera won't listen, and Sarah will stay neutral. I think you are not in the wrong here. You have the right to feel comfortable and safe in your own home, and Ollie's inappropriate behavior made the living situation unbearable. Vera's choice to have Ollie stay without following the lease agreement led to the eviction, not your actions to protect your well-being. While it's unfortunate for Sarah and Vera, your mental health and comfort are essential factors, and their inaction left you no choice but to report the lease violation. Am I the jerk for refusing to drive my stepkids and their friends to their summer activities? I am a 40-year-old man with 2 stepchildren. My stepson is 14 years old, and my stepdaughter is 12 years old. I married their mother when they were 4 and 6 years old. Their parents had been divorced for 3 years by then. My wife's ex-husband doesn't like me. He didn't want the divorce to happen and tried many times to get her back. He also attempted to sue for custody of my stepchildren and leave the state after we got married. It's been a challenge with him. My wife and her ex-husband have spent more time in court than I ever realized possible over custody disputes. Over time, with their father's very negative attitude toward me, my stepchildren started having the same negative attitude toward me. My wife, in the beginning, was good about stepping in and not making me the bad guy. Then she faltered. She would tell me to leave it to her because it would make her ex-husband's anger worse if the kids told him I was parenting them. It was an added challenge when we had 2 children together who are now 6 and 4 years old. It's messy and not healthy. So, we have been in family therapy and marriage therapy because I don't feel like my wife does enough to help bring peace to the household. She'll make plans with one or both of her children and then ask me to do it without telling them. It makes them angry. Then she'll tell me to be careful that her ex-husband doesn't see me with her children other times, or he'll be in their ears more and spewing more negativity. I make time for all 4 children one-on-one, but my stepchildren hate it and make their feelings about me clear. They also made it clear they want their parents back together and repeat many awful things their father says about me. Marriage therapy has been a make or break thing for the last 2 months. My wife is intervening far less than before. My biggest issue is the mean comments made toward our children together. I'm a grown man, so while it's not pleasant, I can handle it. But the children don't deserve it. The disrespect and hurtful comments have increased a lot in the last 4 or so months. Last Thursday, my wife had made plans but had also agreed with some other parents to take my stepchildren and their friends to their activities. I was already supposed to have my afternoon with our 2 children. She wanted me to do it since her ex-husband wouldn't. Court order specifies they ask each other first before non-parents. My stepchildren heard her ask me, protested, and said some more hurtful things, so I told my wife, no. She got mad and told me I couldn't let our children down. My stepchildren yelled they weren't my children. I told my wife that's the answer to that. I went with my biological children as planned, and when we had therapy on Monday, she brought it up and said I was an ass, and had shown I don't care about her children. We argued about it again yesterday, and I told her it's not that I don't care, but I'm not willing to deal with the disrespect when even she can't respect me enough to step in anymore. She told me I had proven I couldn't be trusted to be there, and that I was a bad husband and father. Am I the asshole? You did nothing improper. You've been placed in a no-win situation and are dealing with significant disrespect from your stepchildren and indirectly from your wife by not consistently addressing the issue. Protecting your own mental well-being and that of your biological kids is critical, especially in such a tumultuous family dynamic. Your refusal to drive them was a consequence of ongoing issues, not a lack of care on your part. Am I the jerk for not paying for a painting I asked my friend to do? My friend, Jordan, who is 28 years old, is a wonderful artist. I love her work, so I told her that if she ever considered doing commission pieces, I wanted to be her first customer. She said okay, and I sent her a picture of my dad, who passed away, as a reference. I wanted to give this painting to my mom as a gift. This was back in early 2018. Jordan said she would start on it when she could, but that she was busy. I just thought she did not want to do any commission work yet and just left it at that. A few weeks after our conversation, Jordan posted on social media saying that she was open to doing commission pieces and posted how she would charge for those pieces. I messaged her again and she said that she got my order and was starting the piece for me. Per her post, I assumed the piece would be around $200. She also said she was charging her clients around that much, so I should expect to pay about the same. She said she did not want me to pay until after she was done, so I did not. For the last 6 years, she would post the other commission pieces she had done. When I asked about mine, she would say she was working on it but that she had not had the time to finish it. She often lost her job and was looking for a new place to stay. I understood that times could be hard, so I waited. The reason I did not just stop asking her was because she would sometimes send me Snapchats of sneak peeks of the painting, so I knew she was working on it little by little. Flash forward to last weekend, she finally gave it to me. It is a beautiful painting of my dad and I cried looking at it. She then told me it was $700. I was not prepared to pay that much. I told her that when she started doing commissions, she was charging her clients $200 to $300. She responded by saying that she realized her work was worth more. The cost of supplies had gone up since then, and the amount of time spent working on it. I thought it was unfair to charge me so much, given I waited years for this painting. Within the last 6 years, I had gotten married, bought a house, and have 2 young children. I do not just have $700 to spare on this painting. She told me that it is not her fault that I cannot afford it and refused to give it to me until I could pay her. I told her to just keep it since I did not have the money for it. She called me a jerk for wasting her time on this and left. Am I the asshole? You are not the one to blame. She took 6 years to finish it and then raised the price by hundreds of dollars. That seems unfair, especially since she didn't check if you could pay the new amount. It feels like she took advantage of your friendship. Am I the jerk for telling my parent that if they don't listen to the family therapist and get solo therapy, I won't engage in family therapy going forward? My mother, stepfather Jim, and I, a 16-year-old female, are in family therapy together. It started 8 months ago. My mother and Jim have been married since I was 10. They have 2 children together. My half-brother is 5, and my half-sister is 2.5 years old. My father, whom my mother was married to, died when I was 8. The first therapist made no sense on anything and was even too much for my mother and Jim, which says a lot. The current therapist has been great, in my opinion. She met with us all individually for a couple of appointments and then started working with us as a group. I always knew my mother resented me for crying during her wedding. She has brought it up in therapy while not saying she holds it against me. Her words imply that she does. I had not been very happy about the wedding. The wedding date was kept from me and from people in my father's family, so they visited that weekend, and I could not see them. That made me sad. Paired with the fact I was sad my mother was marrying someone else and missing my father, I cried a lot throughout that day. My face was a mess in the photos because of it. She mentioned all those details very accurately, so clearly it was something she has thought about a lot. Jim thought we would have a father-daughter relationship, but he does not like that I do not want it. It drives him crazy that we can get along fine, but I never want to go beyond that. He considers it more insulting that I do not hate him but still will not accept him as a parent or come to him like I would a parent. I have mentioned how I do not want Jim to fill the role of a father in my life or a primary father figure. If I want a more fatherly figure for something, I prefer going to my paternal relatives, who make me feel like an extra connection to my father. I also confirmed that I do not want to have a relationship with Jim where he will walk me down the aisle someday. I do not plan on joining him for father-daughter dances like he has invited me to before. I confirmed my mother and Jim's suspicion that I do not feel close to my half-siblings. My mother brought up the wedding and my relationship with my half-siblings a lot during sessions. My mother fights back against the therapist when she tries to address it. She has said things like I should feel guilty for hurting her on her wedding day and causing so much trouble in the family we now have. The therapist suggested that my mother and Jim should seek solo therapy, but they refused. My mother was deeply offended and argued with both the therapist and me outside of therapy about it. The therapist asked her why she was so hesitant to utilize solo therapy, but my mother has really dug in her heels. A week ago, I told my mother if she does not listen to the therapist and go to solo therapy, I will not engage in family therapy anymore because we are getting nowhere. She told me I did not get to decide and I did not get to tell her, the parent, what to do. She said therapy was my fault to begin with. Am I the asshole? Oh, the irony. She says you should feel guilty for hurting her on her wedding day when she forgot to be a good parent. Look, your mom sucks, and it's no wonder you don't want family therapy anymore. She's acting delusional, constantly pushing you away by refusing necessary criticism and work. Therapy being your fault is just another excuse to avoid facing reality. You did nothing to deserve criticism. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.